Okay, thanks everybody for just tuning back in again to Christian Runners UK. And I'm really privileged to be joined by a very young man, or definitely younger than me anyway. And we've got Luke Campbell. So how are you doing, Luke?
Hello, I'm marvellous, thank you. How are you, Jason?
I'm very well. Oh, sorry, get my teeth back in. Yeah. I'm just said, I mentioned to you earlier, Luke, I'm a little bit red because I've just been for a run. But I'm okay, so don't get worried, anybody, if you're watching. But Luke, where are you from? Where do you live, and what do you do?
Great. Yeah, so I live in Malmesbury, which is just on the edge of the Cotswolds, so it's North Wiltshire and near Cirencester. And I work for Dyson. So Malmesbury is where Dyson's headquarters are, where James Dyson heads the place up. But I'm a personal trainer for Dyson, so I work as part of their gym, which is for employees only. But currently the gym is closed, so it's just online classes. So every day I do a half an hour online class, which varies from body weight to using weights and core-based things like that. So that's what I do as part of my day job, yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So we can come to you for cheap Dysons then and that?
Yes, I do. Maybe I get a discount code, but I'm not going to tell you. But yes.
For everybody watching, don't hold him on account to this. Yeah, don't try to contact Luke for a cheaper Dyson vacuum or something.
Unless you have something good in return. Unless you work for Nike or Adidas.
Yeah. Well, you never know what's out there. Right then, Luke. So first of all, I want to ask, because I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22, right? Fantastic. You know something? When I first came across you, you know what I mean, via Facebook and everything, you remind me as a young person. You know what I mean? Because you're into. We'll find out in a minute. You're into your triathlons and biathlons and all things like that. And 20 odd years ago, I was the same. I was into all that and doing some decent times.
Sure.
And just talking about running, I noticed, and telling everybody out there, your 5K time or your best time is at 16:31.
It is, yes.
That is a good cracking time.
Yeah. So I have to admit, that was carbon assisted. So that was wearing carbon shoes.
Ooh.
So depending on where your moral standpoint is on that, I was wearing carbon shoes.
Well, my best is 16:52. So
sure.
And that will just, well, not like the shoes we've got nowadays anyway. So we'll call that a draw.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've noticed your 10K, again, a really impressive time, 34:20.
Yeah, so that's my official time. That was in 2018, maybe in February 2018. So it's edging on 3 years ago. I really haven't put the focus into having the opportunity of doing a 10K fast and doing the right specific training for it. So that's why I haven't come close to, come close. I've gone under 35 minutes since, but not close to 34 in that respect. No.
It's a fantastic time because, I mean, in my heyday, I'd say about your age,
Yes.
I was doing very similar times.
Very good.
So I know the dedication, the time you've got to put in. But something for you to chase anyway, Luke. My best is 33:52.
Brilliant.
That's what you got to aim for now out there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what other sort of running distances have you done, or is that sort of your thing?
Sure. So running initially started where my dad got mainly into triathlon, but through running, I have some good friends who my parents know through the local church in Malmesbury, and so they would go to parkrun every week in Swindon, which is where the main one is nearby.
Yeah.
And that's where I started going as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old. Absolutely hated it and really, really didn't like running at all. And so my dad would very much force me to go and run, which is very funny. But it then became slightly more of a brilliant goal to kind of look towards. I really, really didn't see running as an actual sport in itself at the time. As a young teenager, it just complemented the other kind of sports you can do, like playing football and rugby and whatever else it is. But then as I started to get into it and enjoy it more, joined Swindon Harriers, which was the local team, it just progressed and then built up through school and running the track events and then going to park runs and running further and further. And then that then spilled into triathlon, which Are you happy for me to chat about triathlon now? Would you like me to?
You know, obviously, I'm you know me, I'm a Yorkshire lad, and obviously the best triathletes come from Yorkshire, don't they? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Literally a stone's throw from not far from where I live. So I've had the pleasure to meet the Brownlee brothers a few times, and I've even competed against them, but it's usually when they're disappearing within the first 100 meters. But yeah, tell us about your triathlons, because I've heard that you represented Team GB.
Yes. So within triathlon, that just started off as a small time thing. So I was very much training for triathlon before I had the appropriate road bike for it. So I didn't want to start doing it until I had a proper bike. And so I was doing all the training, and then suddenly the time came where I actually got a road bike. So I entered my first one in maybe 2015, I believe. And from then on, it just picked up year by year. And then I set the goal on aiming to qualify to compete for the Team GB age groups. So Team GB for triathlon is split into your age group, similar to running. And at the time, I was in the under 20s, which is quite a broad category. I didn't actually know that much about triathlon then. I just went and raced it, and I got a roll down spot. So I wasn't in a top 3 who automatically qualify. I was in a roll down. Yeah. So I then got selected to represent Team GB in Dusseldorf in Germany in the European Championships.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2017, I believe.
Right.
And then, that was a lovely experience. Very exciting, very intense, as you can imagine. Yeah. And then the following year again, fortunately, because of the results that I had that year and the year up, you can either qualify in the year leading up to the event, or you can qualify the year before if you do well enough in a specific event. Yeah. And so I then qualified for the following year as well. And subsequently, since 2017, I believe, the 3 years leading after that, I've qualified for the European and World Championships each year for the Team GB age group. Really? But unfortunately, people who are in triathlon will know it's very, very much a money game. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but finances play a very, very big part in that aspect of triathlon.
Yeah. Yes. At least running, it's just buy a pair of shoes and go and.
But absolutely. That's what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but with triathlons, especially if you're traveling abroad, you've got your bikes to get there, your wetsuits. There's a lot of stuff, isn't there, involved? But absolutely. No, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? It's a massive achievement and something you'll never forget. And hopefully in the future, you never know, you might get back there again in something.
Absolutely. So, and I am very, if you don't mind me saying, I'm very fortunate that I have had some local businesses who have supported me either through offering physiotherapy or coaching or training or financial support, which has been really, really, really helpful.
Great.
And so, or maybe if there are business owners watching this, the help that you could provide a young athlete really, really would not go unnoticed by them, and it would be hugely appreciated if that was something you were looking into doing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we just don't know who's going to be watching this. So let's just hope and pray too that somebody will feel that they want to bless you by helping you along. So that, you know what I mean, that'd be fantastic. And I mean, God works in mysterious ways and wonderful ways. So I'm sure if we pray and ask, God will bless.
Absolutely.
Just one other thing, another race. I know you mentioned. I always like to ask people what their favourite races are, because I've got loads, but there's a few that really I do love doing. And just tell us about your favourite race, because it did make me smile.
Sure. So my favourite race is, I'm terribly sorry, I couldn't actually tell you who runs the race, so I can't remember who it is. Maybe it's Trimax Events or something like that, I believe. But it's a race and it's called the Seven Sins. Okay, the Seven Sins, and it's just over past the Severn into the top of, it's like kind of South Gloucestershire, just over towards Wales, and it's in the Forest of Dean, and it's a brilliant 7-mile race with hills. Oh my goodness, the hills around here are incomparable to Yorkshire, I'm sure, but these hills up and down, so there's 7 hills, and that's why it's called the Seven Sins. And so I did it. I remember my dad coming back and telling me about when he first did it. He said he ran through and his shoe fell off. You run through rivers, the mud is incredible. So I do it the first year as just the 7, and then they introduced something called the Immortal Sinner. So you run the 7 miles clockwise. You then turn around and run it anti-clockwise again. So you do 14 miles 14 hills. And so I've since done the Immortal 3 times after the initial time doing the 7 sins. And it's just brilliant because it's not out and out as fast as you can on a road where the wind matters or the whatever it is, like pacing so much. This is it's absolutely a matter of survival. Absolutely. And I love it. I love it.
I mean, I know what you feel like by doing it, because I do loads of trail races myself, and I prefer, I don't like tarmac anymore. I do run still on tarmac, but I prefer any trail race, the muddier, the wetter, the crazier.
Yes.
That's me, you know what I mean? That's what I love. And for those that know me, I'm really into my obstacle course racing, so it's like, that's a big thing for me. So it's
sure. I was supposed to be doing my first obstacle course race in, I think it was November last year, but unfortunately it's been cancelled and then rearranged twice since then. And so I don't know when it's going to come up. But back in the last year and even this year, I've got loads of obstacle things like Spartan and Total Warrior. Yeah.
Loads, and obviously they're all cancelled. So, but not to worry. They'll come back. Right. Yes. So just tell us roughly, how do you train? So imagine a normal week. What would you do?
Okay, normal week. So as part of my job at Dyson, as part of a fitness personal trainer, fortunately, I can do that training, and it me leading the classes complements my training. So I do it as well as the people. So while I'm leading it, I'll also do the exercises. It also then motivates people, and it makes it easier for them to know what's happening because they can watch. And so I currently do 6 classes a week, half-an-hour classes. Maybe that's a little more strength and conditioning than your standard athlete would do, but I do find that it definitely helps as far as strength training goes. It's a big compliment. Yeah. Unfortunately, as all triathletes know, if you're a triathlete listening to this, swimming has kind of been off the cards for a short while now, which has been a big shame. You know, in the last year, pretty much since March, in the last year, we've missed out on maybe 8 months of swimming. And so that even with the lakes being open, it wasn't long, and then it went into winter training. So you're not really training in the lake when you swim in the winter in the same respect. So that's been very difficult. Lots of triathletes have been doing the upper body workouts or pull bands, so you can use the big resistance bands, which is really beneficial and helpful. Cycling, I'm fortunate enough that my parents have a watt bike in the garage, so I can use the watt bike, which is just a standard like a turbo trainer, and then I also have a turbo trainer for my bike. So the watt bike's great for doing out and out kind of really hard high power efforts, and then you can use the bike, which then becomes more specific to your racing. So you can get in the right positions, you can hold it properly. And then running, the important one. Running is especially over winter, it's much more of an enjoyable experience. So I really got to try and make the running fun, because that's the one that I would always go back to. I'm not going to say I could easily or happily drop swimming and cycling, but running's the one which I would always stick with, I'm sure. And so it's a case of, I just really enjoy doing it. It's very social. I love it, and it's just great fun. So the running training takes up most of my time. That's what I like to do most. Fantastic. And on road, on trails, whatever it is, I'm very happy to do it. And I'm also, so in the last year, I've been experimenting with barefoot running. I don't know if you've heard much about it, but I read into it a huge amount. I was doing it as part of a series, like this kind of seminar series, also almost at my work, where I was talking about running. And it just kept coming up and up and up and up about this barefoot running and how it was brilliant for the body and how it works the muscles in the ways they're supposed to be. And so I really got into it and I loved it. I think I ran maybe just about dead on 17 minutes for 5K in the barefoot shoes. So I figured it's not too much slower. It's not quite there, but it's not much slower. And so I'm very interested in the barefoot shoes, but I'm aware that they are not as fast as these new carbon shoes that have come out. So if you're looking at out and out speed, barefoot shoes are not the way to go, but potentially strengthening, longevity, whole body movements might be better. It's personal.
It's something good for us, whoever's watching this video, to have a look at that, because I've done the same. I've really looked into it. I've never bought any, but a couple in my local running club that I run with, they run in them all the time. They swear by them. and they hardly have any injuries whatsoever. So it is an interesting thing to look at. So whoever's watching, just Google it, barefoot running, and there's loads of stuff out there, isn't there?
Yeah, and just a point on that, if you want to read into it and get a good understanding, there's a brilliant book called Born to Run by Christopher Mcdougall, I believe. Who's a journalist who goes out and learns everything about it you could need to know in one book, really, as part of a storytelling as well, which is really good. So I'd recommend the book Born to Run if you wanted to get into it. Then I'd recommend taking it.
Right then, so we've learned obviously a little bit about you there with your running side, but obviously Christian runners. So obviously the Christian part of it. So just to tell sort of everybody's watching, sort of how did you get into church and where did it all start? Were you in a Christian family or what? Just let us know.
Yes. So my parents were very involved in Malmesbury Abbey, which is where King Athelstan is actually, his tomb is.
Oh, right.
So if you're interested in that, that's where his tomb currently is. Okay. I don't believe he's buried there, but his tomb's there, so I don't know. So that's where my parents went, and that's where I grew up as a child. But then as I got older into teenage, secondary school, it becomes a lot harder to try and sustain and keep it up along with all the other kind of activities that are happening. So then, and then I had the opportunity to work in Yeovil, which is slightly south to where I am in Malmesbury, at a school as part of being a PE teacher apprenticeship. And so then I started searching for churches around there, and I went to one, and that was my first proper expanding out of doing something of my own accord, instead of just being stuck within, not stuck, but instead of being almost in the shadow of your parents in terms of in the churching environment. And so being able to go for myself and then introduce myself as just me instead of, I'm so-and-so's son was really good. And I'd also been just teetering on to going to Cirencester Baptist Church, which is where I currently go. So I'd gone to their house groups there, which is on a Wednesday night, and ran for the youth under 25s. And I loved that, and the people I met were brilliant, and so that was really encouraging. And so then I became more and more of I've just recently become an official member of Cirencester Baptist Church, but I more regularly attended. And then to really delve into it, this year I've signed up on something called Invest, which is run by the West England Baptist Association, and that's where you commit 8 hours a week to your church, so the equivalent of a working day. And so I'm officially an intern, signed in as an intern at Cirencester Baptist Church through this Weber Invest program, which is looking mainly at ministry and how to grow and learn more in ministry.
But the sort of the 8 hours, what sort of things will you be doing then?
Sure. So unfortunately, you can't do anything in person really, so that limits things quite a lot. And there are a lot of people who are an awful lot better at the online design and organization than I am, because there are people who actually specialize that within the church. However, there are things like making videos. So I recently did a video with them, a small interview with the pastor about how to engage more with people on social media about your faith and those kind of things. Last week, the pastor and I went into Cirencester and we interviewed a few people as part of one of the services. And a lot of it's also reading at the moment. So I spend a lot of time reading, but these are proper theology books. And so it's all things that are contributing towards you becoming more of a whole individual within the church, around circle, I suppose, in the church.
That's brilliant. That, I mean, for somebody young, like yourself, it's brilliant. I know when I sort of I was about 16 when I became a Christian in that, and I'm not from a Christian family whatsoever. And I really got into the sketchboard. I saw a guy on the street using the sketchboard and he did a magic trick. And God sort of told me, I want you to do that. And I was like, wow, okay. So I worked with open air campaigners for a little bit, did a lot of street work and that. So, and I was only young. I probably were younger than you. I probably were about 19, 20. And and I got right into it. And I've been involved with the Christian magicians since then. So a long time. So I just love just sharing the good news. It's obviously, that's what we're doing through running and wearing the t-shirts or talking to people. So I'm going to ask you, I know obviously seen lots of photographs of you wearing the t-shirt and stuff. Have you ever had any chats with people? Has anyone come up to you and said, "What are you wearing?" You know what I mean? Oh, like that.
Yeah, good question. So I actually first saw a Christian Runners t-shirt at Swindon Park Run, probably around 2018. So I actually saw one first.
Yeah.
So then I went home and searched it up, and I was like, "Oh, brilliant! You can just buy one yourself, and then you can go out and wear it." So then I bought one myself and would take it and wear it to park runs and events. Occasionally wearing it out running around the streets, but I was aware that the more you do it at an event, the more likely people are to see it because they're actually actively looking for you. And when photos are taken, obviously people scroll through the photos and they'll see that you're wearing it. So that's really good. And so I saw that it worked for me, as in getting me out to join Christian Runners by just seeing someone else wearing one. So I figured that for me to be able to do that would be great. And I also love the fact on the vest that on the back it says, "Jesus said, follow me." So if I'm at the front of a race and someone can then look at the back of the vest, I don't know how it makes them feel. If you've got it on there. There you go. Yeah, Jesus said, follow me. So if someone's behind me and they're looking at my back, which they have to because they're behind, maybe it spurs them on a little bit, and they're like, and they're also having to read the verse on the back if they are behind me, which makes me laugh. And I think it's subtle evangelism, isn't it? Which is great. And it's the important thing. A lot of Christianity and evangelism is just to do with how you act, right? And it's people being able to see you and realizing who you are and why you believe in something. But then also wearing a t-shirt or a vest on top of that, it really bridges the gap for people, so they can be like, "Oh, look, this guy, he's evidently a Christian. He's clearly confident in his faith, confident enough to wear a vest," and so people are aware of it. And so I think that that's a really, really good thing for bridging the gap, so people can just be like, "Oh, look, this guy." And my thoughts are, if someone sees me at the front of a race wearing one, then they may be like, maybe I will become a little bit faster if I if I looked into doing. I don't know, but to answer your initial question, actually, yes. So I have had maybe 5 people or so have actually contacted me after the race, or they've seen it during the race, and they have actually spoken to me about it. But I'm very, very aware that lots of people will have seen it, regardless of what they think. Definitely, lots of people would have seen. I mean, it's got to be in the hundreds based on the amount of races I've done and photos I've posted out. Hundreds of people will have seen that I wear it. It just depends on how they choose to take that on.
And that's what I find so good. You know what I mean? Because some people are naturally, they can talk and share the gospel so easy, and some people are just a little bit more shy. And sometimes just by wearing it, you don't have to say anything, just run. And then I've had so many people come up to me and say, "What's this, Christian Runners?" I mean, the same thing. They've been reading the back, the scripture verse, and so, which is great. You know what I mean? So that's one way we can easily then get into a conversation. Just one really funny thing. I've got to mention this before we run out of time. I was down at a park run at Birmingham. I was doing a kids thing in the afternoon, so I thought, like us park runners, we'll go and do a park run first. And I was running. After about a mile, this guy absolutely blasting his guts to catch me, and he just shouted, because he couldn't catch up to me, he just shouted, "You Christian runner, I need to talk to you when you finish." And I went, so I waited for him. I think he was a minister or a pastor of a church, and he said, "I saw you teach. What is it all about?" You know what I mean? So, and I think there's a few around Birmingham, so it was really funny.
Brilliant. And so not 100% related, but in a similar kind of thing in terms of wearing a t-shirt. So I'm an Aston Villa fan. For anyone who's around Birmingham, that's what I support, I'm afraid.
I'll let you off, yeah.
So we're at a park run once at Swindon, and there's a man there who's in an Aston Villa t-shirt just running. So we chat to him and we're like, "Oh, blah blah, you've seen that playing today, whatever."
Yeah.
We then go to Birmingham to go and watch the game. So we're there queuing to watch the game, and he walks past us, the same guy that we'd seen in the morning in Swindon, which is over an hour and a half away. And so we're like, "What are you doing here?" And so, it shows how the whatever top you wear, it can be a conversation starter. And if that's the case with a football shirt, I've had loads of people chat to me about football shirts when I've worn Aston Villa ones, just mentioning it. And it's the same if you're wearing a Christian runner shirt. It encourages conversation.
Absolutely. If I had long enough to talk to you, I'd talk to you about Leeds United because that's my team, obviously. I mean, we were the underdogs, but come on, Leeds. Well, yeah. So, is there anything else? Have you got like a favourite verse or any scripture that stands out to you that you'd like to share? If you've got anything.
Yeah. So, or just something short to share that. Just in terms of my future plans, just quickly in this regard, I'm hopefully at the end of this month, maybe by the end of March, I'm looking to start studying at Spurgeon's Baptist College, where they have different locations around Birmingham, Cambridge, and London. So I'm looking to start studying a course which is called Equipped to Minister, where once completed, alongside an internship at the church, which I'm currently doing, you become a registered lay pastor, which is my aim within the British Baptist Association within the UK. And so that's my kind of plan for the next 2 years, and then see where it goes from there and what happens next, I suppose. So
we've got lots of what shall I say? Lots of things to look forward to anyway. So for all those Christian runners and other people out there, we can keep following you, obviously on this Facebook site and page and group, and it'd be great just to see your future, how it pans out. So I just ask all Christian runners out there, and that we'll just pray for you, obviously, because it's a big commitment. I mean, you're giving a lot of time up to the church as it is, and up to God. So I mean, you're going to be in my prayers, and I'm sure you'll be in prayers of lots of others. So we've got a few minutes left. Anything else you'd love to share with us?
Yeah, so it's just quick. It's just a little thing, and it's just something that I've been trying to share with the people that are local to me and who I know who work within the church. And it's just proactive intention. So that's the whole kind of what am I thinking? That's what the heading would be if I was to do a little sermon. It would be called proactive intention, because I think that's the most important thing for us as Christians, is to show you have the right intention in what you want to do. So based on how you act and what you say to people and how you treat people, you've got to have the right intentions. But then at the same time, we're called to be proactive, because we have a role to do. If you believe what the Bible says, we have a very distinct role to do, and to go out and evangelize and to tell people about Jesus, simply, if you were to put it in a sentence. And so it's very important now that us as Christians are proactive, but with the right intentions. And so we can actually go out there, instead of just living it on a Sunday, or instead of just being a Sunday Christian, as you may have heard the phrase, we're actually going out, and that's what we're doing every day. And so we're being very proactive with the intentions that we have to save the world, because if you really want to look at it in that way, that is what we're aiming to do. That's all. And so my little phrase, which I love, and probably spotted on Instagram or something, it's just be the Bible. So be the Bible. So that's what you need to remind yourself, because to many people, the majority of the UK and even the worldly population, they don't read the Bible. And so you yourself, and the way you act and speak, you are the Bible to them. So you're all that they get of the Bible and of Christianity. So if you are the Bible and you're living as the Bible, then that is good teaching for them. And that can maybe encourage them, maybe sow some seeds, because you never know. There are crazy stories, more crazier stories than I could ever tell you, about people turning to faith and turning away from things that they've done. And so you don't need to take it from me. You can read thousands of stories online about what's happened to people all over the world. Healings, magical, life-changing stories, all kinds of things. And so don't just take it from me. You can read it all everywhere if you wanted to. For sure. So be the Bible.
Yeah. Talking about that, read the Bible, or be the Bible, I should say. I always remember when I do some of my gospel magic things, is the Bible, if you always remember, it is best instructions before leaving Earth. I always
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We need to read it, we need to study it, chat about it, get into it, but it's the best instructions before leaving this earth, you know what I mean? So that's one way I love to think about it. So absolutely. That's free for everybody.
Yes. And it's very easy. This is, I'm not going to go, because we don't have time. We could talk about Leeds United, or we could talk but it's but it's the case of, you know, the really simple thing to look at, and the most outstanding thing about the Bible, maybe, well, probably, is that it really has withstanded the time for it to still be in our hands, not untouched, but pretty much the same things that were said at the time. And so for something to have lasted that long, that's still changing the lives of so many people, there's got to be a realness to it, right? And there's a reason it hasn't changed, and there's a reason things were said 2,000 years ago. If you just want to look at the New Testament, almost 100% of it pretty much still applies to us. And if you don't really have a reason to come up with excuses not to follow it, to put it simply, regardless of what the world's doing and how things have changed. If you follow the Bible,
now is people say I've no time. Well, at the moment, you've got loads of time.
Well,
you can't have that. I mean, I run a lot like you, obviously, triathlon and everything. There's always time to do bits.
And on top of that, there are so many different ways you can learn and read and listen. There's all kinds of podcasts of all different lengths. Yeah, you can watch YouTube videos. You can watch the Bible Project, which has their own organizations. You can go to your church sermons, which are now online. Yeah. You can do your house groups online. You don't have to travel. Yeah. It's so easy. You can call up people. So it can be easy.
During this lockdown, there's a lot of churches doing really well. You know what I mean, online.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though some people might think church is not happening, it really is happening, and God's blessing in different ways. Which it's like this doing Zoom. I'd have never thought, let's do this.
Yeah.
God's really using so many different ways in the media. So
amazing. Yeah. And so, well, just if you're happy for me to say this to finish, to promote myself.
Go for it, Luke.
Really, I'm sure you can just find me. Well, actually, there's a professional boxer called Luke Campbell. So if you just search Luke Campbell into Google, it won't come up with me. But if you search in Luke Campbell 246, that's the tag I put on things.
Yeah.
And you can find me on there. And if you want to chat, if you want to ask questions, anything, I'm more than happy to chat to anyone about anything. So if you're really interested in following on either with what I'm doing or just having a chat about things, even if it's just faith related and you hate running, then I'm happy to chat to you about whatever it is that you wish. So just send me a request, follow me, whatever it is. I'll happily chat to anyone.
That's great, Luke. Thank you so much. I mean, this has been great. This is the first time I've really spoke to you face to face. If you can hear a noise, there's a massive helicopter coming over, so I'm sorry if there's noise happening now. I'm not far from Leeds Bradford Airport, so sometimes we get things testing out. No, to me, it's such a blessing. You're a young lad, you've got a massive future in front of you, and like you said, if anyone's out there, if you want to chat to Luke, find him. We can easily pass on his details. If it's to do with church, if it's to do with running, I mean, he's experienced in running and triathlon, so please get in touch with him. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
So Luke, thank you so much. It's been great, and I'm sure we'll chat again. And I'll give you a race one day. You know what I mean? You can follow me.
I will, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Jason. This has been wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you, and God bless and everything you do. Thanks.